Welcome to Fintech Week London 2021. Unfortunately, the virtual edition. We were supposed to have this physically, but I guess we're not there just yet. I'm joined with some pretty big shots in the crypto space, and I'd like to let them introduce themselves. So, Nimrod Lehavi, please, co-founder and CEO of Simplex.
You just introduced me. Hi everyone, I'm Nimrod. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Simplex. We're the veterans of on-ramps via credit cards. We've been recently acquired by Nuvei, a Canadian public company. So now we have a bunch of more services. We'll be able to push much more adoption into crypto, and in general, we've infiltrated the fiat infrastructure rails now.
All right, Anna Stone, head of strategy at Good Dollar.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Stone. Good Dollar is a social project that's focused off of building a decentralized impact economy. We do this through free distribution of cryptocurrency to 250,000 people every day all over the world. And we're very much inspired by the principles of decentralized economy that I think we see most traditionally when we think about Bitcoin. So excited to be here with you all today.
All right, perfect. And Anziani, CEO of Crypto.com, which I enjoyed watching the last UFC fight on everyone's gear. So pretty cool about that. Eric?
Fantastic. Yeah, it was a kind of a historical moment for the industry to partner for 10 years with UFC. So my name is Eric Anziani. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Crypto.com. And as you may know, Crypto.com is one of the world's fastest growing and regulated crypto platform. And we've been serving now more than 10 million users globally, and we really cover all their crypto needs, buying, growing, spending their assets.
All right, perfect. So let's dive deep into this. I love the fact that we have some really I've known most of you for years and really big people in the industry. So we're talking here about Bitcoin, or what the fuck, Bitcoin, WTF, Bitcoin, where are we going? So there's the known, saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. If we take that kind of cliche, where do you think we are right now on that in the Bitcoin or crypto? And we're going to get differences between Bitcoin and crypto battle just yet. Thoughts? Where do you think we are on that paradigm?
So I'll start. I think that Bitcoin has done a wonderful job in terms of proving that digital money is real, it's happening, it's being adopted by institutions, and real people want to hold it as well. The fact that we've crossed the $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin, it's really a remarkable achievement, I think, makes it one of the most widely held assets in the world, if you will. And I think it's proven itself as digital money, digital currency, decentralized money. There's a hunger for it out in the world. I think what is yet to be proven in terms of winning is what actual use case Bitcoin plays in our world of money and different types of money, which is that originally it was originally marketed as a digital payment token. Over the past few years, as Bitcoin's price has exploded, we've seen it become associated with more of a store of value asset. Now with some innovations to make Bitcoin faster, more efficient, the blockchain, et cetera, we see it kind of verging back towards this claim towards payments. So I think Bitcoin's here, it's here to stay. It's certainly established itself as an asset class, if you will. But where it's going next, I think it's part of an evolving journey.
All right. Eric, what do you think?
For sure, I will echo.
Are they fighting us or are we winning?
We're on the right track, but winning will be 7 billion users globally. So we still have some way to go to bring crypto and Bitcoin in every wallet, and that's the fight we're in. But definitely, if you look at the last 9 months, we've seen tremendous adoption, in particular in the institutional front. All the banks, all the traditional players, mostly pushed by their customers actually, I've been starting to offer crypto-related services, Bitcoin-related services, and even investing some part of their treasury. We even had, a country, El Salvador, make Bitcoin legal tender. I'm sure we'll have time to cover that later. But those are big milestones. So, Bitcoin is here to stay, crypto is here to stay. We're starting to get out of that inflection curve of just early adopters. we're starting to get into the mainstream. But yeah, winning is 7 billion users using crypto.
So you started.
I think we're really far away. We're barely over the ignore us phase. In a bull market, they can ignore us because it's a lot of noise. But now back in a kind of a bearish market, I can't believe I said it out loud. I'm gonna get beaten later.
Yeah.
So it's getting back to now they ignore that, or even slightly like maybe the part where they laugh at you. But as Eric said, I mean, we're gonna win when there are gonna be billions of users using crypto, not necessarily Bitcoin, but Bitcoin or others.
So, but I want to ask you. So you built your company years ago because you couldn't buy crypto; it was so hard. Now, of course, you guys have been pioneers in the space and also been acquired by a pretty big company in the fintech space. So 8 years ago, when you tried to talk about letting open bank accounts or whatever, and today when you talk to banks about that, don't you think that Rubicon has been crossed? That it is no?
No.
Okay.
I'd say I hate to be the party pooper, but I enjoy a lot being the party pooper. No, nothing changed basically. Like a decade ago, literally a decade ago in a panel, I said that I think that in 10 years, Bitcoin is going to be mainstream. And I was so wrong. It's going to take another decade, at least, maybe 2 decades.
You need to be careful on this one.
No, I don't care.
I bet my brother that I would go to my bar mitzvah in Tel Aviv in the subway. I'm very far from my bar mitzvah, and that subway is nowhere near. So,
So again, I mean, basically,
good.
You still fight your way with every bank. You still fight your way with every regulator. Everything. Everybody's still just like I was recently at a dinner with a private bank, and I was asked questions from a decade ago, like, isn't Bitcoin mostly used by criminals? What would maybe with some of the countries will just ban Bitcoin completely? Couldn't the NSA just stop Bitcoin working? These questions. So nothing changed.
Okay, so
which is good, by the way. We're still pioneers, and we still have everything. The world is our oyster. We can still change everything and make it amazing.
Okay, so along Bitcoin, there's a whole new, I would say, world and industries of different cryptocurrencies. Each one of them with a different promise. I'm gonna bring smart contracts. I'm gonna bring decentralized finance. Anna, as your work with, again, a nonprofit project, but when you guys try to create basic income and you want to create some kind of a digital currency, with having Bitcoin there, is it an elephant in the room that you always have to acknowledge? Do you build off of it? How do you correlate with that in that world? When Bitcoin is there, you guys want to create a different set of value.
Sure. So let's talk about what Bitcoin got right and what we're inspired by, right? I think the first and foremost thing is that Bitcoin is the decentralization of Bitcoin, the fact that there is that anyone in the world can tap into the network, the fact that there's a consensus mechanism, and the fact that there's no pre-minting of the token, right? So actually you are, as people agree and the miners create consensus, new Bitcoins are issued into the world, and that's part of what has created the demand for Bitcoin and a market for Bitcoin, if you will, is its rarity and scarcity. At Good Dollar, we're really focused off of, okay, how can we take these core principles and create a crypto that's actually designed for everyone, that's designed to reach everyone, and not just those who have the hardware and the electrical capital, know-how, technology, et cetera, to set up a mining station, which is an accepted consensus mechanism for the Bitcoin blockchain. So we're very much inspired by this idea of consensus and a currency that actually is minted, driven by usage and by adoption, but with a goal of having that crypto reach people who otherwise would be the least likely to be able to, say, open a digital wallet or access an exchange or successfully sign up for either Simplex or crypto.com or any other type of centralized service, right? So the idea is really, how can we get free digital currency directly into people's smartphones, inspired by the principles of Bitcoin? Now, different than Bitcoin, we're focused, like I said, around a currency that's issued and where the consensus mechanism is done based off of usage and acceptance. So with Good Dollar, there's no pre-minting of the UBI, of the digital UBI. Actually, more digital UBI is created and distributed based upon how many people are active in the ecosystem. And so this principle of really balancing the supply with the demand and letting that create, I would say, a decentralized economy. That's the decentralized economy, is the supply for the currency versus the demand for the currency. That's an idea that we've taken directly from Bitcoin. And I think ultimately the goal is that to have a complementary system. I personally believe that there will be many different types of tokens that serve different use cases. Bitcoin will have its, Good Dollar hopefully will have a place as being a crypto for everyone. We've seen a few other decentralized currencies like Dogecoin and others gain adoption with that model. It's just a matter of pairing the economics with the intention, if you will.
All right, perfect. So that's a great segue for kind of a question for the floor. So there used to be a paradigm of Bitcoin and shitcoin. There is Bitcoin and everything else is labeled shitcoin. Of course, some maximalists still have that. Do you think that we're already in a stage where not just above crypto heads, people who understand crypto, Bitcoin, understand that there is a place for more assets? Is it not already just Bitcoin versus everything else? Is there a second layer of the Ethereums and, again, crypto.coms or whatever? Like, what are your thoughts about that? And do altcoins compete or even create inflation in Bitcoin, as some are saying? What are your thoughts about that?
For sure, I can maybe start on this front. I think I echo the point from Anna. This is going to be a multi-protocol, multi-coin ecosystem that we're building. And each coin will bring different set of value and solve different use cases. And we're just looking at the numbers for Bitcoin. In January this year, at the kind of the beginning of that bull run, about 67% of people that were crypto owners had Bitcoin. Towards the end of the bull run, we're down to 50%, which means a lot of people have moved to other currencies and have explored with Doge and other layer 2 platform on Ethereum, other type of staking and POS platform outside, and really experimented. And I think there is a use case for that, and this will continue. This doesn't mean that Bitcoin will disappear and the other coins will take over. They'll just serve different purposes. And that's what we're building, an ecosystem which is decentralized, that provides value, whether it's for payment, for store of value, for trading, for DeFi, for NFTs. There are different use cases, and we can serve them through different protocols and get those needs served. Yeah.
So Nimrod, you have a pretty unique place of looking a lot of, I would say, bird's eye information. Of course, not going into exact numbers. Do you see consistently in the past few years Bitcoin dominance just going a bit down or up and staying the same? Do you see, let's say, when NFT craze goes up, does that create a certain, so when something goes up, does Bitcoin go up with it? When Bitcoin goes up, does alts go with it? How do you see that kind of correlation usually?
Usually it looks, first of all, I have to say about the NFT craze. There was no real NFT craze. Nobody was buying NFTs like crazy. Like 2 people bought super expensive NFTs. Okay, I mean, but it's like so super early. I'm not sure it's worth discussing especially as a craze. I'd say that usually when the market is just starting to pick up, and when the market is down, users like retail users, which is what we see most of the time, are much more focused on Bitcoin and to a certain extent Ethereum. When there's a bull run and people are just like buying everything, dominance was lost. Bitcoin usually was like 50 to 80%. It went below 50% in clients' purchases. But we saw like people were buying everything, and the approach we have at Simplex is enable them to buy anything. I don't think that there can be only one. It's not the Highlander. There can be multiple coins for multiple usages. It's a kind of a evolution that the market is going through. At the end, yes, it's a zero-sum game, at some point in the future when we have the 8 billion users. But right now, everything adds something, as long, as it is. Maybe Doge doesn't, but as long as people, no, I was kidding. We'll get that really soon. So yes. As long as people are buying it, and more users are trading and experiencing and getting drawn into the ecosystem, I don't care. It's great. It just has a positive effect on the market.
All right, perfect. So moving to the next question, a very big point of interest right now is the CBDC, so centralized bank digital currencies. We see everywhere from Israel to China to New Zealand walking into that. What are your thoughts about that? Specifically, I'd love to start with you, Nimrod. Do you think that's just a national, a regular evolution of fiat? Is that them going to the first analogy, trying to fight? Is it a good thing for crypto? Is it actually super centralized? What are your thoughts?
I think at the end of the day, it's really good for crypto because it's making the Joe Sixpack more accustomed to the idea of a digital currency. Even though, and for them, at the end of the day, they don't care if it's controlled by a government or controlled by a protocol. They're just getting used to using it. And I think that, just like the identity wars, I mean, you had OpenID by Google, and you had Facebook Connect and whatever the name of the Microsoft solution, but they all failed because they were all super centralized. And if you had an identity kind of single sign-on solution that was decentralized, I assume it would have won because nobody would have tried to destroy it from the sidelines. So I think that it's great for crypto. At the end of the day, you will have, and let's not fool each other, most projects are very centralized. Even Bitcoin, there's we can have this discussion whether it's decentralized or not. So I don't care if there are some that are decentralized by a government. At the end of the day, I'm guessing there will be a lot of trade between them on and off. Just another currency, and then you can claim, El Salvador's local currency is a shitcoin. But again, I think that every digital asset that is right now being added to the pile is great.
Eric, what are your thoughts about CBDCs? How do you guys see it at crypto.com? Is that the future? Is it noise? Is it nothing to do with crypto? Is it part of crypto? What do you think?
Well, it's definitely not crypto, but it's digital currency. And I think that's great. I would agree with Nimrod on this point. People need to get more and more used to using digital currency. And we were just doing, it was 2 months ago, a survey with the Economist Intelligence Unit. And one of the drivers of digital currency adoption was actually CBDCs, because people talk about it, they see it in the media, and then they start looking into what is digital currency, and then they discover also Bitcoin and other crypto. And they also see the difference between the two. I would have a slightly different perspective there. I agree, maybe in general, people may not pay too much attention to it, but when it's put next to each other, you can really see the value you would get with Bitcoin and other decentralized currency. So I think there is value to it. It gets people to use digital currency. It highlights some of the differences. So I think overall it's positive.
So you're saying that it is maybe competition, but they might do the education that we need to get people with those digital wallets. And once they move to their digital wallets, they'll discover Bitcoin.
For sure. And again, we're very early, as Nimrod mentioned, in our journey. We're 150 million users we've seen in our last report globally. So everything is going to help on the adoption front, even if it introduces something different close to it, then people will gradually move towards crypto. So that's positive. Yeah.
So Anna, what do you think about CBDCs, and how does that live in your world of universal basic income and trying to kind of airdrop money directly to people? Maybe that's a great way to start doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it comes from two sides. One is, I think, on the side of the countries themselves and their treasury departments and their federal reserves. In many ways, CBDCs might be the gateway drug to actually learning about digital currency and the way that these technologies actually will likely enhance their ability to understand where the money supply is, who's controlling it, give much more efficiency to the money supply, et cetera. So I actually think as people learn about the benefits of digital ledger technology and that it actually gives you more information and more efficiency and more transparency and more ability to understand your monetary ecosystem, I'm hopeful that will do a lot of the market education that Eric was referring to. I'm also hopeful that, like, when it comes to the airdropping money directly on people, people will understand the benefits of a digital wallet for every person, right? And so that actually, if you have
Andrew Yang's citizen portal idea, yeah.
Similar, but the idea is that if you actually have the unique ID with a verified wallet address, how would that change actually how you administer social services, how you think about wealth distribution or wealth creation? I think it will be a major paradigm shift in terms of the relationship between the Federal Reserve, central banks, private banks, all the way down to citizens. I think there's a lot of room for innovation up and down the curve there, driven by CBDCs.
All right.
And I think there is actually a big risk, not for crypto, but for commercial banks, because this kind of issuance actually disintermediate them completely. And exactly. That is going to be very interesting for them to navigate that. I think crypto should not be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a lot of discussion that a lot of people say that about people say, oh, it's only used today for drugs and money laundering. And I'm like, yeah, you're talking about cash, right? So, but there is in every economy a need for some activity that isn't on the open ledger. Unfortunately, people know that there is some type of economy that needs to live in those places. There'll always be cash, and there'll always be something that isn't on the ledger. Do you guys like? How does that happen in a CBDC world? Does crypto become the CBDC's cash? Like, how does that live in your sense?
I actually think it will be driven by consumer demand, if that makes sense. I think that for younger people, the younger down the chain you go, the less relevant of a technology cash appears to you. Okay. The more comfortable you are, the more easily you are, the more ready you are to accept that digital money is real money. And so I Itai, I can't make a prediction about when cash will be phased out, in which countries and which place first. But I actually think that it's just going to come as a result of what customers demand, and that as customers are more and more comfortable using digital currency and digital payment services, cash will become a smaller percentage of monetary circulation.
All right, so CBDCs in general is part of, I would say, regulation or countries reacting, I think, to the rise of digital currency. You're seeing a lot of scrutiny towards a lot of different crypto organizations, namely Binance, who's been seeing a lot of regulatory, I would say, uncertainty because they've been running what people say is regulatory arbitrage for a pretty long time. There seems to be, in general, some kind of a big discussion in the crypto world of should we run out of all these centralized exchanges after Bitstamp and Binance? Are they all going to be cracked down? Eric, as a COO of one of the largest crypto organizations, of course, centralized exchange as well, are you seeing a mass exodus of certain players to certain players? Are you seeing FUD in general in your users? What do you see about that?
Sure, I think when we looked at it from our perspective, first of all, and if we step back and what's crypto, what's blockchain for, our belief is that it really gives better control to individuals over their money primarily, and then their data and identity. So, as a company, and it's our mission to promote the blockchain technology and the crypto built upon it, we want to offer the tools to our customers to have the flexibility. If they want to fully own their Bitcoin and their crypto, we give them a non-custodial wallet, the Crypto.com DeFi wallet, where they have full control, they can manage it there. And we haven't seen massive movement, but people that are more sophisticated, that want to have more control, they are in that kind of learning curve, a little bit more advanced than some of the new guys that entered the space. They are using these tools, and they're taking some of their assets into a DeFi wallet and then non-custodial wallets, because this is part also of what crypto is. But there is also a lot of advantages to be on centralized platform, especially if you want to have a strong on and off ramp with fiat, and also benefit of some of the products that are only offered on these platforms. Like we offer, for example, 6.5% interest on Bitcoin in our centralized platform. We can't do that in a decentralized world today on Bitcoin. So there are things that also are attractive for people to stay on this platform.
There's always value that I can call or email someone and be like, is my money still there? Thank you very much. And do you see that? Do you see that as people are building that it's more wealth, that people see you
for sure
as a bank account almost at some form?
No, for sure. And trust takes time to build. We're dealing with people's money here. So there's a few things you can do. insurance is a big thing. When we have one of the biggest insurance coverage in the industry, showing also that you're investing in cybersecurity and protecting funds. 100% of our customers' funds are in cold storage. All this kind of stuff it builds up, it adds up, and build confidence in people to store their assets, especially when it starts increasing in amounts. But there's always going to be a need for people to store in non-custodial wallet and have full control. And we want to encourage that as well, because this is the value and what crypto is all about.
Nimrod, on your end, are you guys seeing anything more interesting right now? Different movements, different patterns that you've been seeing in the past, I would say, from the recent weeks of just movement between different regulatory announcements, I would say?
There are some, that everybody read about. So definitely see the impact of that. But I still want to say something about the centralized versus centralized. I think that at the end of the game, it's going to be the decentralized changes are going to end up on top. But still, for that, you need major adoption and major confidence being built in the system. So the end game is absolutely decentralized exchanges, but still, it's going to take a long, long time. Again, just like banks are going to gradually go away, it's not going to take a decade. It's going to take like 100 years before they even begin the process of real decay. First of all, they're just going to be the ones, custodying your crypto. And
Nimrod has been mentioning Highlander, which is the person that doesn't die, lives forever, and everything with Nimrod takes 100 years. So I have a feeling that you plan to live forever. Yeah. All right, cool. So I want to move into, Anna, do you have something to add about this before we move into our lightning round?
I was just going to add that I fully agree with Nimrod that we're on a multi-decade, if not 100-year journey here. I mean, I have to say, one of the things we do at Good Dollar is give people the experience to work with an on-chain wallet, right? The idea is actually, can you begin to use an on-chain wallet? Can you begin to understand what is the private key? Can you begin to understand what's a public key? A lot of people don't even understand what fiat currency is, let alone for digital currency. So I think there's actually going to be a massive cultural learning curve where us as a society it's going to have to first learn what is money before people can really begin to manage being their own personal bank through decentralized finance. So I think it's a very long and generational curve.
Okay, all right, perfect. So I want to go into what I call the lightning round. Let's talk a bit shorter about kind of just 2-3 words, things that I think we all understand to talk about. So let's start with the more serious stuff and end with the not less serious stuff. So El Salvador, big announcement, becomes first country to legal tender. There's also a lot of speculation about this. How does it look at El Salvador? Good? Are we all happy? Is it just good news? Or what are your thoughts about that?
Not just happy.
Go ahead.
Oh, boom.
Go ahead.
All right, ladies first, please, Anna.
Of course.
Not just happy. I would never want to go grocery shopping with my Bitcoin or any of my currencies that react so volatilely. I think it's going to result in a lot of unforeseen economic benefits. And unfortunately, the people who will suffer are those who are at the lowest end of the wealth spectrum. So I think we'll learn a lot. It will be an experiment. The rest of the world will learn from those lessons, but I certainly think it's going to be all great is to have blinders on in terms of how people actually use money in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, I'll be a little bit more positive on this one. And for sure, I mean, implementation is going to be extremely complex. There's no doubt about it, but it's historical. It's the first crypto becoming legal tender in a country that's actually very consequential. It is not a simple action. And whether that creates a movement, more awareness, more countries, joining El Salvador, I don't know. But the fact that, the first crypto created, the oldest one, is now legal tender in a country, it's just that signal is very, very positive for the industry. And we'll learn a lot. But today, for example, you can use your Crypto.com Pay wallet and spend Bitcoin instantly. So there are ways to make Bitcoin work as a payment currency as well, if you need to.
I think it's great on the taxation front and the regulatory front, because now it's becoming something that regulators can't ignore. It's a legal tender of a sovereign nation. That's the major move. I stopped paying in Bitcoin for stuff I buy in 2013 after I bought a burger and a White Russian for half a Bitcoin. It was a good burger, but not that good. So, but the taxation implications could be huge.
Okay, all right, we get that. Let's talk about the big energy FUD. That was one of the biggest, I think, things of anti-Bitcoin or crypto, I would say anti-messaging this year. Anything new? What do you think about that? Big hypocrisy or actually big issue? Do we need to deal with it? Should we just never talk about it anymore? What are your thoughts about the Bitcoin and energy?
Sure. Yeah, good.
All right, silent room.
Let's do it and Eric me, okay?
Okay, I'll go. So it's something we have to talk about. Okay, let's put it that way. I think talking about energy usage and sustainability of all these technologies is something that we have to talk about. And it's going to be an important factor moving forward in terms of winning, let's say, winning champions for crypto in general. Having said that, I think the way that it's come about is totally ridiculous. I think that Elon Musk fudding about green energy and Bitcoin, the guy could have done his homework, to say the least. And I think the way it all rolled out is there's some questions there. You would think that someone who runs a green energy company would have had the resources to look into the production policy of Bitcoin as well. So
I think it did surface some of the concerns you have as you go a little bit more mainstream, and I think we saw it in NFTs, not directly related to Bitcoin, but crypto in general, and movement of currency and minting and smart contract. We've done quite a few drops with big brands, really extended the type of users that could interact with crypto, and we saw there was a lot of reaction actually related to energy consumption. A few months ago, even before this stuff started. So this is, I think, something real for consumers. But of course, as an industry, we need to step back. We look at Bitcoin, it's 0.1% of the total energy consumption globally. So it's not that big of a deal. And we should focus on the bigger items if we want to solve the problem of carbon emission, etc. But still, as an industry, we need to play our role and see what we can do to help miners and other players to kind of move to using more energy efficient platforms when they might, especially for proof of work protocol, and also promote proof of stake, delegated proof of stake, and other mechanisms that are more energy friendly. Even as a company, we decided to become carbon negative by the end of next year. That's a really aggressive objective, because we need to set the kind of the standards for the industry, and then look at beyond the industry, what can we do? Because it's a global problem and will impacting us, all citizens of the world globally. So see how we can help in the bigger picture after we've looked in our own kind of garden and done the things the right way. Yeah.
Okay, so
I think it was a complete. Yeah, I think it was a complete fight. I mean, we don't use disposable, plates and cups in the office at all, but it has nothing to do with Bitcoin being a big electricity concern. I think it was presented in a very poor way. I guess 90% of the electricity being produced and stored in Teslas is not green electricity as well. So I think it was.
How about SpaceX? I'm pretty sure that's really green, all these rockets.
That's very carbon neutral with the launch.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was bullshit. And electricity, by the way, the large energy companies treat electricity as they plan that 10 years from now, electricity itself is going to be free because it's going to be that cheap and 100% green. So I don't think it's a real problem.
All right. So I now want to touch two people who've been really pushing a lot of the discussion around Bitcoin. And as we kind of finish up again, lightning round, we talked about him already, Mr. Elon Musk. So a lot of people love him because he has brought it to the main stage. A lot of people dislike him because, well, there's a lot of reasons to dislike him, but mainly I think his backing of a complete meme, which I think a lot of people that are part of the industry just find really stupid, Dogecoin. So what are you guys thinking? Is Elon, can we be mad at him for, bringing us to 60 and then bringing us down? Or should we all be happy for the attention we're getting? What are your thoughts about about Elon Musk, and should he calm down a bit?
For me, Elon is irrelevant. For me, there's a lot of other more worthwhile conversations that we should have about mass adoption in terms of increasing diversity of the people who work in the space or who we're building the products for that are much more critical to mass adoption than talking about Elon Musk. So.
Thoughts, Eric? Nimrod?
I have, but we already set the order, so where it goes.
Okay.
Eric, you don't have anything to say about Elon?
I mean, we live in a world now where influencers in general play a big role in educating, the people, their followers, and they have a responsibility as well. So we can't just ignore someone that has 40, 50, 100 million followers, because they will have an impact. Even if it's temporary, it may trigger more reactions down the road. So I think there is some opportunities there that we can take, and there is some dialogue that also can be created. So actually we can use this power of reach that someone like Elon has. So of course, things were positive when Bitcoin was added as a payment method. They were less when it was removed a bit, hastily. But I think we should not stay away from that. We should have some engagement, because in today's world, these are people that make people evolve in terms of their thinking, and we can't just put them aside.
Okay, so I actually want to really take that to, well, actually, Mo, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, of course. I always have everything to add. I think he's the richest man on the planet. He's an amazing entrepreneur, and he's a complete douche. He's a kid with an ant farm. He's like, he's the Tony Stark you ordered on AliExpress.
He's become, I would say, a Bond villain. That's the best term.
Kind of. I mean, again, he's an amazing entrepreneur and apparently an amazing person, but he's completely irresponsible. But then again, there's no bad publicity, and he did push crypto to everybody's faces. And I would also argue that he kind of pushed Jack Dorsey to do more good for the economy instead of sitting on the fence.
Okay, so I want to touch, you talked Dorsey, I want to touch now the laser eyes concept, and especially Mr. Michael Saylor. So a lot of people is going to say, all right, Michael Saylor had the easiest job in the world. It was two actions: buy a lot of Bitcoin and then just shill Bitcoin, because you're not selling it, you're not trading it. All you have is this one asset. Now I just need to make it go up. And this I bring to this whole concept of, I would say, laser eyes, which is said person lives his entire life, all good, then one day discovers the beauty of Bitcoin and becomes this converted maximalist, and now he is laser-eyed, as in he is Buddha or something. What do you guys think about that? I'll give you my personal opinion. I think that we need to pass this notion of Bitcoin versus everything. If I understand it and I get it, then I'm enlightened, and you, the fiat person, are just living a lie. What are your thoughts about that? And I would say Michael Saylor as a concept of just people that become blind evangelists, as, by the way, really is good for their own business goals, something else.
I mean, on this one, I feel MicroStrategy is just a way for people to get exposure to Bitcoin, because ETF are not prevalent. And I think it's not a bad idea. Buy a lot of Bitcoin, have it on your balance sheet, and get a little bit of a premium on your valuation for that, and people get that exposure. And that's his game, and it brings some value, because we lack some instruments for more people to come into the space. Laser eyes or not, maybe I let the rest of the panel comment on that.
I totally agree with Eric that what Saylor's done is actually he's innovated in terms of his own business strategy. And I think to a certain extent, when Elon buying Bitcoin did a similar thing, right? It's actually an innovation of their own business strategy. In terms of the message that's being put out there, I think, again, people who have influence do have responsibility in terms of what they say. So I think it's actually quite unproductive to have people who are influential in the industry saying things such as move 100% of your net worth into Bitcoin. The reality is that that's not a good choice for most people, right? And so I think messages like that are potentially irresponsible, they're dangerous, and I also think that ultimately it's a short-term reward that's winning the battle but not winning the war, right? And that if we actually are focused off of real sustainable adoption where these assets are a value add and a wealth creator and enrich people's financial understanding and ability to be financially independent, it's not going to be because they put 100% of their net worth into Bitcoin. It's going to be because they've adopted a much smarter, more nuanced, sophisticated approach to personal finance.
I'm on mute. That's the word of 2021. I apologize. So I actually, usually people end things with a Bitcoin price prediction. I don't want to do that. I want to go the other way around. How big of an inflation do you think we're going to be seeing this year on most fiat markets? I'm going to go and say, I think we will pass 5, 6, 7% on most of the big countries in the world in the next year or two. And I'm being conservative. What are your thoughts about that?
I would say 6 to 8% if we're talking US dollar.
Eric? You don't
I
have to
think
go
US
specific.
Yeah, no, US is already at 5. So I think it really depends how fast the situation recovers. My sense is maybe this will last 3 to 6 months. I don't know if it will continue at that rate for too long, but there's still a lot to recover for. And people are, they're really eager to consume, to go out, to live, basically. So there's going to be some inflation and oil price is still pretty high. So that will last for a while for sure. But it will come down at some point.
Nimrod, thoughts?
I don't know. I'm willing to give shitty predictions about this, but not about like macro or global economics. Like it's way beyond my understanding.
Okay. All right. Cool. US dollar to the moon. All right, guys. Thank you very, very much for your time. Yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for joining Fintech Week London, and we wish you all a great day.
Cheers.